Okay, hello everybody. This is podcast 2. The first one I did last week was quite well received, very well received. We have made quite a lot of progress with technical things, the YouTube channel, and there's been a positive case that went past this week with results of a mother seeing her daughter again after not being allowed contact for over a year. So firstly, last time I spoke, I was talking about the book that I received, How to Kill a Witch, a guide for the patriarchy. I haven't read it all yet, unfortunately, because I have been quite busy this week. But one of the torture methods, I want you to know what happened to people that were thought to be witches, a torture method to get them to admit that they are a witch. First, the nails on all the fingers were riven and prized up with an instrument that in old Scots is called a turkus, otherwise known as a pair of pincers. Then under every nail, 2 needles were thrust in up to their heads. These tortures notwithstanding, the doctor never failed in his courage and continued to refuse to confess to witchcraft. That was actually a doctor. Then there was a lady. I'll just briefly mention about this lady, and then I'll move on to the subjects also that I wanted to talk about. She was called Janet Wishart. She was burned to death rather than strangled or hanging first. The cost was £11, which covered the cost of burning her and fee for the executioner. £11. That seems quite a lot back in the day. Janet Wishart. There's Alison Balfour. She was tortured and she didn't confess to being a witch. And then her husband and children were brought in. They were tortured too. And Alison had been told that she wouldn't be executed if she confessed. But you may not be surprised to hear that this turned out to be a lie. She was tried, found guilty and sentenced to death. Just like Papley, she retracted her confession before her execution and told those gathered about the torture she and her family had suffered at the Earl's hands. Alison Balfour was executed at Gallow in Kirkwell on 16th of December 1594. So I will continue to read that and pick out some interesting facts along the way. Another book that I've actually got in my bookcase that I haven't actually read yet, but I will be reading this. Mother Nature. Well, how do you go? Say Mother Nature, not Father Nature. I wonder why. Natural selection and the female of the species. Now, it's a very thick one. It's going to take me a while to get through Mother Nature. The next book I want to talk about, I didn't talk about it last week because I hadn't had any feedback, but the author of this book has actually got in touch with me, and she wishes us all well on this podcast journey. I didn't realise that she had been in family court herself. Her book is called Custody: The Secret History of Mothers, and it was incredible because I'd just literally been going through the history after, not even realising about the laws that were passed almost 200 years ago, and the witches in the 15th and 16th century, back then, a few hundred years ago. And I wrote to her, and she did actually reply. And then there was a big article in the Telegraph this week. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. So in her book, she goes back into what I was talking about last week. And also modern day mothers like Britney Spears, how she had her children taken away from her. So it's not poor women. It can be very successful, very wealthy women. And another woman that's very successful, Sharon Stone, actually. But one interesting point is that you would think that fathers, if the mothers of their children were sick in hospital, they'd help them, protect them, help with the children. Actually, I'm going to read a testimony as well in this podcast. When a mother's sick, there are fathers that go in and take the children, get custody of their children. It's common. I hope it's not very common, but it does happen. So on the Telegraph article, there's 395 comments. Now, there's a lot of people. This is why I'm doing this podcast, because there are a lot of people that really don't understand what's happening in family courts. And then you get the fathers' rights mob that are leaving comments as well. I'll briefly talk about fathers' rights, but I do want to read a couple of comments on the Telegraph article. Fathers' rights groups are funded, very well funded, and you will even get presidents of the family division going to their conferences and speaking at them. Whereas women's, any organisation that's trying to help women don't get funded at all, hardly. And if they do get funded, they are not allowed to protest. For example, it's still around, I think. It's called MOSAC, Mothers of Sexually Abused Children, MOSAC. And I spoke to them over a decade ago. And they're very well aware of this, mothers that report sexual abuse of their children, because that organisation was set up to speak to us and to help us and to give us therapy. But the question I asked was, well, why aren't you actually doing anything? Oh, well, because we'll lose our funding. Oh, really? You'll lose your funding? Oh, right, okay. So is it helping the situation? Not really. Oh, but don't get me started. So one of the comments that I saw, Melanie Carr, I don't know who you are, Melanie, but please get in touch with us. Please get in touch. She on her comment, she said, "Should I write about my story? ? Would you be interested in how so-called safeguarding professionals enjoy abusing their authority and causing harm? Sad, but very true. Teachers, health visitors, police, even a priest looked after children, nurses, the list goes on and on. This is a national scandal." Really, Melanie, we know. We're with you, darling. We're with you. The cover-up of child sexual abuse, the protection of paedophiles whilst actually harming the protective parent and victims. Okay, that's one of the comments. Now, maybe these words are going to get edited out, because I know YouTube are quite keen not to have these P words and R words and child XA words, SA words on the channel. But I know a lot of channels say PDF files. So if I say PDF file, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Another lady on the comments, Sarah Preston, writes, referring to the article, it said her son had a say when he was 10 years old. The son had a say at 10, ? My nephew certainly didn't, nor was the social worker's report even looked at by the judge, probably favourable to the mother. because if it wasn't favourable to the mother, it would have definitely have been read out by the judge, looked at and read out. Despite domestic violence, injunctions and being hospitalised and in a home for battered wives and threats to witnesses by their father to kill the boys if he lost custody, similar to the Claire Throssell case that I spoke about in my first podcast, my sister was screwed by the legal system. So it is filtering into mainstream media. Unfortunately, a lot of those comments were not positive towards the mother, Lara Feigl. Sorry, I'm just it's only my second one, guys. Come on, stay with me. I'm not a presenter or a reporter. I'm just a normal, mother. Not a bad horse rider, as you can see. That's me. Right, okay. So other women that have been through the system have written books. One book, Mummy, Where Are You? It's a story about, I know this lady very well. I know her very, very well. I won't say her name because I think she wrote the book under an alias. But Mummy, Where Are You? It's about a mother whose son was disclosing sexual abuse by the father. And in a nutshell, she fled to a foreign country and lived there happily for several months until a load of armed police officers in black, the riot guys with the big guns, banged the door down, took the child back to the UK, gave him straight to his father, and £1 million later, spent on legal fees. She gets one phone call a year, and the boy is in his 20s now. Shocking. She hasn't worn well, the mother either, which she would be the first to say. It has affected her health in a devastating way, a devastating way. We do try, come on, but you have to. I'm going to talk about the power today. I will talk about power. There's another book. It's written by a lady called Samantha Baldwin. There's two books. She's written two books. Everything Will Be Okay and Pretend Justice. True stories. This lady, Samantha, is... she actually came across me when I was doing a radio interview, and I was talking on Richie Allen many years ago, and she was listening to it, and she still had custody of her boys, and I was saying how I lost the custody of my daughter, and she thought it was horrific, and then the same thing happened to her, and we've kept in contact over the years. And I actually, when I think it must have been how many years, I'm not quite sure, but it's actually on YouTube. I went to London and I did a speech, and we did a march regarding Samantha Baldwin's case. It was it's amazing how the media shut these cases down, because I find it incredible. I really do, because there's so many of us now. This should be in the news every day, and this system should be abolished. It should be brought down to its knees, but it's not. It's still there, going very strongly. I want to talk about the late Christopher Booker. He had a column in the Telegraph every week, and he did report on many cases, including mine. I had a whole series. there was a case of Marie Black, who had a daughter in France, and the social workers from the UK came to France, convinced a French judge that this mother, what I don't know the reasons, they stole the child. They took the child back to England, a baby, newbornish, not very old. And Brendan Fleming, the late Brendan Fleming, unfortunately he passed away last January. He was one of the few lawyers that fought the local authorities, and he got the case into the High Court in London, and the judge said, how can you steal children that aren't in your jurisdiction? You have to give the baby back. So it took them several weeks to get this baby back to its mother. You would think they would do it the following day, but no, they stalled, they dragged their feet, and they gave the baby back. What happened next was absolutely incredible. The scorned government in England put a criminal case against Marie Black. 10 of them. They said that they were in a PDF file ring. And I want to talk about this case because it troubles me. It troubles me a lot. Because she had her other children taken and they were in care to 2 other men. And these 2 other men were in this PDF file ring, and these 2 other men had never even met each other. The social workers changed the statements of the children over 100 times, and yet the criminal case was heard with a jury, and Marie was she was told by her own barrister, don't go on the stand, don't talk, which obviously for me there's red flags waving, bells ringing. You know, you have to go and address the jury. You're being up for doing something that you haven't done. You have to go and defend yourself. So anyway, she listened to her lawyer, and 3 of them, out of the 10, some of them were her family members, 3 of them, her and her 2 ex-partners, the fathers of the children that were in the care system in England, they were all found guilty. And I don't know what the sentences were for the 2 men, but Marie Black got life in prison. So that's a case. It's horrific. That lady sitting in prison, her daughter that she managed to get back from the state, the social services, the child trafficking. I'm not going to, say it. I'm not going to dampen it down what they're doing. They're trafficking our children, and that's as simple as it is. And they came after her. There's also another case that the state did fantastically well financially from. Gloria Musa. She was a pastor. She was a Nigerian lady, and she lived in Haringey. And she had lots of children, a beautiful family, a husband, beautiful. They ended up, I'll make it brief because this is so horrific, this case. They took the children. She was pregnant. They charged her with child abuse, hitting children. They got found guilty. She had her baby in prison. I think they got 4 years or 5 years or something. She had her baby in prison, which was immediately removed at birth, and all 7 of her children are in the care system in the UK. Her and her husband got deported back to Nigeria from prison. You can look at the case, Christopher Booker, The Telegraph, the Muser family. It's time that we talked about these cases. It's time. We can't be silenced forever. They want us to be silenced, but quite frankly, we have to shine a light on the corruption and the evilness that's happening to children and mothers. I wanted to talk about power, because everybody that knows me and knew me back in the day when I lost my daughter, and people that meet me now and I say I've got 2 daughters, and they're really interested. Oh yeah, but one, she was stolen. And they say, oh, you're the father of the child. He must have been really powerful. And I have to answer as no. He's exactly the opposite of powerful. He's very weak. He doesn't have any power at all. But it's amazing when you have a government standing behind you, how brave and courageous and powerful you can seem. You're not. You're a coward. You're a coward because you're willing to take a child from its mother because you can, because the system allows you to do that. You can abuse the child, you can abuse the mother, you can look all massive, and powerful, but these men are they're fearful of us. I know that man is terrified of me. He's terrified. I know that because my daughter said, I've seen all the paper. Obviously, I've seen all the paperwork. He's scared. It's all in the paperwork that she actually told the social worker that when she saw me one day, that I was there to murder her father. Okay, so which I wasn't, because I'm not a murderer. So the people that have the power are the mothers, because if we didn't have the power that we have, we're holding the truth, and the truth is the power. If we didn't have that, they wouldn't come after us. Sorry, I just need to plug my computer in. Oh, I forgot to put that little thing in there. Sorry, I thought I was doing so well. I thought I had everything all organised. So the power is with us, the women, and this is what I'm trying to get across in this channel. If we didn't have any power, we wouldn't be gagged, we wouldn't be silenced, we could just talk. But it's the women that's going to bring this system down. We are going to get this system abolished. But to do that, we have to stay strong. We have to. I understand how bad it is. Torture. I understand how torture works, but we're not being burned at the stake anymore. We're being allowed to live. We are actually being allowed to live. So where there's life, there's hope. And what we need to do, we need to lobby. We need to get these gagging orders thrown out. It's against the Constitution. We need to speak out as much as we can. This is why I want this community to grow, because there's so many victims of this system now. There's many of us, and many of these women are frightened because they're okay. Let me go about what happened with the contact with my daughter. because it's very important. It's a very important point. They blackmail, gaslight. I mean, they do everything to try and control the mothers. And what they said to me is, you can have, oh yeah, first of all, do you accept the judge's findings? What, that I coached my daughter to make all those allegations of sexual abuse against herself? Yes, the judge said you coached her. Do you accept the findings? No. But the judge, he found that you coached her. Great. Well, that's great for him. Okay, fantastic for him if he found that. But I didn't. But you have to accept the findings. Otherwise, you won't be able to see your daughter. Okay, is that called blackmail? Okay, so I won't be able to see my daughter if I don't accept findings that I didn't actually do. Right, okay, so let's just roll on another few years, even decades. And if my daughter decides to go after her abuser, you lot are all going to say, oh no, your mum said that she coached you. You've got no case. Okay, so there was no way, absolutely no way that I was going to accept something that I never did. Distorting the truth. Stop. It's not happening. We don't distort truth. The truth could be buried. It's going to be, it's been buried. It has been buried. The truth has been buried. But it's got this way, the truth. It's got this way, you know, and it will always come out. It will always come out. Rest assured, the truth will come out. So this is why the women are under attack, because of our power. We hold our power. We're holding our power. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope I got my message across loud and clear. Come on, women, don't weaken. We hold the power. Right. I'm going to read a few testimonies that actually I read out, some of them, when I did my podcasts with Sean Atwood, that got brought down, or whatever, cancelled, shadow banned. Anyway, nobody likes me on YouTube, but hopefully this channel might make it. Okay, so this is Josh, not his real name. I'm going to try and read out testimonies every week if you want to send some in, or on the comments. This is a condensed summary of a teenager who wanted to vary previous family court orders that compel him to live with his father, despite a long history of alleged abuse, neglect and distress. He expressed urgent concerns for his safety and well-being, requesting that the court consider it without notifying his father. Due to credible fear of retaliation, he has lived with his father since the court order in 2012, which he has consistently opposed. He recounts persistent emotional, physical and psychological abuse, including threats of harm, extreme control, isolation and deprivation of basic needs. He describes being silenced in previous proceedings, including being denied the opportunity to give evidence, having his views misunderstood or ignored by many professionals, and experiencing manipulation by expert witnesses. He alleges that a psychologist's report was biased due to his father's manipulation, and that court decisions have been based on a false portrayal of family dynamics. During 2019, he took steps to seek independent legal advice without parental influence, confirming his understanding of the legal process and implications. He denies any coaching by his mother and asserts that his desire to live with her is based solely on his own lived experience. He highlights the stark contrast between homes. His father's household is described as controlling, unsafe and emotionally barren. His mother's as nurturing, safe and supportive. He identifies specific educational, social and emotional detriments stemming from his father's care and expresses a desire to move schools to improve his academic performance and well-being. He describes once being a good and dedicated student who enjoyed all sports and had many healthy friendships, all stripped away from him by his father. the family court and professionals. Well done, well done, well done. He also details inappropriate and disturbing behaviour by his father during family holidays and within the local community. He recounts how his allegations of sexual abuse raised both as a young child and more recently were not believed or acted upon. He remains isolated, without meaningful friendships or social outlets, and describes daily life as defined by fear, punishment and deprivation. He sought through the proper channels a safe, supportive and stable environment for the remainder of his childhood and asked the court to honour his voice, autonomy and rights as a maturing adolescent. Once again, he was denied. He is now currently living in hell and deprived of any relationship with his mother or maternal family. Now, I have a big update on this case because that was last year. And he turned 16 and he's living happily with his mother. Of course he is, because that's where he feels safe and loved. It's a great story. It's great, and he's doing really well. He's doing really well. Now, I want to get on to Zoe. Hi, Zoe's Dronfield, friend of mine. We've done protests in London together. Zoe, no, but all jokes aside, she was nearly murdered by her partner at the time. And you'll know Zoe, she's written a book. I think it's in here. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Oh, she's going to kill me. But, right, Zoe Dronfield, I'm going to read her case. This is the account of Zoe Dronfield, a mother and professional who was failed by the family court system. In 2014, after surviving an attempted murder by her ex-partner, Jason Smith, it's all in the news, he got a sentence, a serial perpetrator of domestic abuse, Zoe was dragged through the family court system. Smith was remanded in custody immediately, meaning there was no immediate risk to Zoe's children. However, as I said with Sharon Stone, her other ex-partner, the father of a 4-year-old daughter, exploited this traumatic event to remove her child from Zoe's care. Guess what he did? While Zoe lay in hospital, having been stabbed and stamped on, her ex-partner obtained an emergency ex parte hearing. Zoe was not even able to attend. Under the guise of a concerned visitor, he approached her hospital bed with flowers, whispered, "You've done it now, you'll never see her again." Can you imagine? And placed the court papers on her bed. He got this hearing without any checks on him. Just a badly handwritten application full on uncorroborated allegations against Zoe. Despite being heavily injured, Zoe recognised the danger in what was happening. When she learned that her ex had gained interim custody, she wrote directly to the judge with her bandaged hands, explaining this was not the act of a loving father. Just 2 weeks later, Zoe discharged herself from hospital to attend court. The judge, clearly frustrated by two litigants in person, they hate mothers rolling up by themselves because we have more power than a solicitor that's going to bat for the other side, ordered that Zoe's daughter remain with the father, granting Zoe only limited contact, overnight on Tuesdays and 5 hours on Saturdays. Zoe and her daughter's father had not been together for several years, as there had been a history of domestic abuse perpetrated by the daughter's father. Zoe was the breadwinner and sole carer for both her daughter and her 8-year-old son. There was never any suggestion of removing her son, who remained under her care with the full support of his father, family and friends. So why did the court split the siblings and assume the mother was at fault? Zoe felt punished for being a victim, but knew she had a battle ahead. She instructed her legal team and endured over a year of litigation, during which her ex attempted to obtain their daughter's passport to take her to Dubai, removing her from the jurisdiction entirely. Changed her doctors, dentist, anything to be disruptive to Zoe, not in his daughter's interest. Zoe was also summoned to appear in Coventry Family Court for a hearing about her daughter on the same day she was witness and victim in her own case in Warwick Crown Court. I tried to speak to someone at the court and said I can't be in two places at once. No one could give me a straight answer or point to a person who had authority to deal with this. You are consistently put in a no-win situation. It is mind-boggling, Zoe says. Zoe filed an appeal. Thankfully, a new judge saw through the lies. Zoe spent £14,000 defending herself just to prove she was a good mother. This is not justice. This is legal abuse by perpetrators sanctioned by the court. Zoe has since campaigned for serial offenders to be placed on a register akin to the sex offenders register, which I think has been passed now, and for transparency in the family court system. There is no recourse for failures, Zoe says. Where do you go? Any appeal goes to the judge you are complaining about. It's a closed door, and in my view, anything done in secret, like the family courts, harbours abuse. They claim secrecy is to protect children. But how are they being safeguarded when they are repeatedly placed in harm's way? Well, they're not. Zoe eventually regained full custody by invoking section 9114 through the order, though the order was not granted. The threat that her ex might lose the ability to bring further vexatious claims through the courts was enough to deter him. Doesn't deter all of these men. Zoe says the court's processes must be changed. We need transparency and accountability for decisions made. It cannot be right that when a child is removed, no one is checking if this was the right decision and if they are safe. Well, they don't care. And the disbelief of victim testimony, often when there is evidence, is shocking. Misogyny and victim blaming is at the core of our family justice system. We should be deeply ashamed. We are. I am. Zoe has written about this ordeal in more detail in her book. Here we go. Mind Over Manipulation. Her wish is that her book gives hope to those going through family court and hopes that one day this adversarial system will be updated to support victims. Zoe sent her book to my daughter with a note inside, very kind of her. I'm not sure whether my daughter read it. I don't know. So I'm going to read another. What I want to read first is, one of the great mistakes is to judge policies and programs by their intentions rather than their results. So we all know there's a child protection system out there, but it's the results that we're more interested in, not what they're their intentions. And just before I forget, this channel is to help you turn your wounds into wisdom. Okay, right, let's get on to Melanie. This testimony will briefly explain my experience. I say briefly as there has been too much that has happened. It is hard to put into a few words. Nevertheless, I digress. At the young age of 8, I was wrongly taken off my mother and placed into care. Despite years of abuse by my father, which was completely disregarded by the family courts, neglected by the police, social services, and even my own family, still to this day, I have been consistently disbelieved my entire life. I vividly remember being taken out of school on my first day of year 4 to be told bluntly by my social worker at the time that I was being taken away from my mum and would not be able to see her. My brother was also put into foster care with me. Luckily, my foster carers were good to me, as I know that is not the case for everyone. But what was only meant to be short-term, a short-term stay turned into 2 years in care. I had weekly contact with my mum, but this was slowly decreasing until it was completely stopped and prohibited by my social workers and those around me. So let me explain. What they do is they start and decrease the contact with the mother to try and break the bond, and then they bring in people to get them attached back to their abuser. Hold on. No, I know you can't believe it, but you just need to just hold on and listen. I was completely alone and did not have anyone around me that I could talk to about my worries and concerns. After I was forced into go into contact with my father to regain a relationship, and eventually, without my choice again, I was put into my abusive father's care alongside my brother. The brother is not even the biological son of this man. Where I was manipulated and silenced into not being able to see my mum, and my perception regarding everything around me was completely altered. Unable to speak up, not being able to trust the family around me, and tormented by all the lies that had been spouted by the people who were supposed to be the ones who supported me, I packed my bags and left to go live with my mum at the age of 17. Her mum is a friend of mine, and how did we meet? Because her mum went to a solicitor and told her the case, and the solicitor said to her, "Oh yes, Vicky Haig, that's the one, you know, the one that's the same case as her," and that's how she got in touch with me. So she went to live with her mum age 17. This caused major outrage within my father's side of the family, to which my father found old Facebook posts that ultimately put my mum in prison. Despite me testifying at court, social services also tried reasoning with me and offered alternatives such as moving in with my dad or going into shared accommodation. However, due to my mum being put in prison, I was left borderline homeless and was moved into my own flat, where I had the responsibility of paying all the bills and looking after 3 cats and my dog at the age of 18. Furthermore, this forced me to drop out of university, and I had to juggle jobs so I was able to pay the bills. This is while her mother's incarcerated. The abuse, foster care, moving house to house caused severe trauma and has significantly impacted my life, to which I attend therapy for. I have no trust within police or the courts and believe that the criminal justice system is heavily corrupted and flawed. Thank you for listening to my story, although this testimony is one of many. I did a big interview for a big newspaper, Daily Mail, but like many of our stories, it was never published. Mine too. There is still continuous injustices to so many victims who are being punished day by day by the criminal justice system. Change needs to happen. Yes, it does. Yes, it certainly does. How did they get the 2 children from the mother? Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. She went to London and she was in front of President Mumby, who unfortunately on the 1st of January this year passed away. He passed away. I know where he won't be going, and I know where he will be going, because he was the one that, while she was in front of him, they arranged back in the north to take her children from her. I think it said they took her out of school, they took them from school. Horrific. These people, honestly, I know where I want to go. When I pass through this life, I don't want to go to hell, but there's so many people that have done so many bad things that there's no way that's exactly where they'll be going. Do you know, these people think that, you know, they can go through their life, they turn a blind eye, do things, you know, pay their mortgage. It's only one child, it's only that child, it's only a mother, but you know, there is a law of payback. And that's why I am doing this channel, because I can't stand any longer to see how they're just steamrolling over the mothers and the children, their rights, and separating these children. You know, they have a right to be brought up by their loving mother. I was. And I always say, my mum always said to me, you know, I'm going to tell you the story about my family and how I was brought up. My mum I never saw evil when I was little. I didn't know evil existed. I had a mum that was loving, you know, bit crackers. I had 3 elder sisters, never saw abuse, never suffered abuse, and my father was a saint. He had power because he was a protector, and my mum was protected, and she never worried a day in her life with a marriage. And my father, you know, it was a family unit. But you know, we can go into that more in detail. I want to get through these testimonies. I want to find, where is it? Okay, so it's not just poor women that this happens to, because people think, oh, it's only in government systems, it's only the poor that suffer. This is Dr. E. Helly, not her real name. E was taken to a family court by an ad hoc boyfriend, which means that they weren't living together, they weren't really together, on and off, you know, and not the father of either of her 2 children. She was never married to him. Essentially, it was relationship fraud. He alleged he had been a parental figure in the children's lives, which was not true. He asked the court for permission to make an application for a Section 8 to commence family court proceedings. He made an emergency application, and it all took place on an ex parte basis. That's where he can make an application. The mother doesn't know that this hearing is going ahead. She's unaware. So he goes to court on his own. He presented to the court a series of wild allegations and untruths in which he flipped the script and portrayed the mother as the abuser. It was a complete character assassination. He had compiled a dossier over a 2-year period. He stole my post and files and tried to fabricate a disparaging view of me as a mother. I reckon he spent 2 years planning this. He neglected to mention I had breast cancer. There we go again, you see, a sick mother, a sick mother. There's a pattern, there is a pattern. I had a life-threatening illness and surgery 2 years prior to him making an application to the court. He was abusive during this period. He told a very disparaging story and failed to mention that I had cancer and had a near-fatal post-surgical complication. He portrayed me as an unstable woman and mother instead of the truth. I'm a successful doctor. All done in my absence on an ex parte basis. He was given immediate temporary parental responsibility. He said that he was concerned I was going to flee the country to return to my own, and that I would prevent him from seeing my children. He is not the father, and I was not married to him, yet a judge, after a 7-minute hearing, granted him parental responsibility. I then became entrapped legally, and although The Hague wasn't used formally, the court procedures followed the procedures of a Hague case. He was not only allowed to continue this fraudulent family court battle on fabricated allegations, but was able to embroil me in a legal mess. My son was extradited back to the UK by my off and on boyfriend, essentially. I was gagged, I had supervised visitation, and was traumatised by how it all was handled. My children remain traumatised, and it has been an uphill battle to restore the loving and gentle relationship with both of my children. This lady spent £500,000 on legal fees, and a 5-day hearing cost her £55,000. So, as you can see, there's money to be made stealing people's children. Ellie. I don't know how long I've been talking, probably too long. So I'm going to read Ellie's. Maria's is quite long, and then I am going to close up. And, okay, I'm not sure if Ellie's a mother. My abuser was found guilty of all allegations, including sex with reluctant consent and coercive control outside of the relationship when it ended. Despite all the allegations found amounting to coercive control within the relationship, the judge refused to cite it. Oh, you can't see that. Don't look at that. Yeah. Why are the judges if they're not judging properly? You know, aren't you supposed to look at the evidence? They still gave him 50% access with the ability to control me through our son. I suffer from CPTSD as a result, and he still is allowed to contact me whenever he likes. He regularly tells my son that I'm a liar and I'm trying to get his money. I have never taken nor asked for a single penny from him. He is used to the psychological abuse he endures there, although he regularly asks me to not make him go. He spent upwards of £250,000 on court proceedings while simultaneously falsely reporting to legal aid before most court hearings. He initiated that I wasn't eligible to stop me from having representation. Our son is in the process of being diagnosed with autism, and he is obstructive to the process and tries to cancel appointments without my knowledge. I have friends and family of his contact me to inform me of how he tells them he won't stop until I don't have access to my son, and he has won and destroyed me. Oh well, how big and brave is this man? He refuses to do any daily necessities for our son. If I don't do the things he needs on the days he is with me, he will go without even a bottle of water. His new partner is constantly stalking myself and my family and friends through social media. She is a professional in a field that his behaviour would be extremely alarming. I am scared every day, and I know that my son will have psychological scars for the rest of his life. I pray that he becomes a well-adjusted adult when he is free of the abuse. Oh, okay, right. So, stepmothers. Briefly, I want to say that when a man gets another woman, that's when he goes in for the kill and gets the children, because he has a woman there to look after them. So stepmothers, can you just be aware of this pattern as well, please? Please try not to aid and abet the stealing of children from their mother. This is a long one, but I am going to read it, and then I'm going to finish. Just hold on, because I've got to feed a horse. Not that one, but another one. Maria. It's a long one, but it's the last one for now. I am 17 years old, and this is my life story so far. I am the eldest child and have 2 young brothers and a younger sister. I am forbidden to have any contact. My dad was physically, mentally and emotionally abusive to us. I was threatened and controlled with guns. He had many guns, which frightened us. In an argument over a spicy sausage that I didn't want to eat, he went to get his gun to shoot me as I didn't want to eat it. He instilled a fear into us, making us stroke his dead animals he had hanging in the garage, leaving dead animals in the house and next to my mum's car, overpowering his gun, shooting in the park across the road, also the road which is illegal in England. Sorry, I haven't edited this testimony. I'll try and make sense of it. He hit us hard on the tops of our heads as punishment, which left us with headaches. He would scream at us at dinner time as we were petrified to eat. He slapped my face and whipped me with a belt. He threatened to abduct us to another country should my mum speak up. He sometimes didn't speak to me for 10 days if I argued back or shouted at him. My brother, who was 22 months younger, only had autism and in a special school. He couldn't talk or express himself, only by crying or screaming. So he was hit more and I'd be his voice. However, sometimes my dad was nice, but that was the false side to him. I could see he was fake in front of people. I begged my mum to leave, but she was petrified of what he would do. I wrote a diary of the abuse, little notes, but scared Dad would find it, so I had to rip out pages. I still have them. Eventually, my mum feared our lives and called the police, who removed him. I gave evidence for child abuse, but it didn't go anywhere. We had a social worker involved who knew my dad and his family from another country, and things then changed. He told me my dad was a good dad and I didn't have any abuse. We were happier without living in fear from my dad. My brother started having more confidence to talk and play with new things. No one wanted to hear about our abuse and how scared we were of our dad. I decided not to see him, but my younger siblings went supervised. However, my dad was still abusive to them in supervised contact, mentally. So one brother stopped going. He used to cry the whole day after seeing my dad, confused. It goes on about FaceTiming. My mum had to sign something to travel. And if she didn't FaceTime, she could go to prison. Threats of prison again. Psychologist saw me and said I should never be split from my mum. It will cause too much damage. In 2019, when I was 11, my mum decided to escape to Spain to keep us safe. We had never been so happy. We knew the town before from holidays. We went to school in Spain, learning Spanish, making friends. We were there 10 months when sadly, Mum had to go to court and she had to drive us back to England. I wanted to run away and hide. It was just after COVID, so things were harder with restrictions. When we got to England, we were met and taken into foster care. Only on the ferry we found out they tricked Mum into going back and that they could see my dad was dangerous and self-alienating himself, making the children scared and blaming it on my mum. They said they now understood and told me on video calls. We even had asylum in Spain, but court said it's not enough. The return to our dad was denied, but return to social services wasn't. I didn't want to go into foster care and wanted to refuse. However, I wanted to stay with my siblings and protect them. My youngest sister was only 5, my brother 8, and my brother with autism was 10. My foster carers were Indian, didn't cook our food or celebrate our traditions like Christmas. I had to beg for a Christmas tree. They filmed my sister in the shower. They told me they had cameras up to see if she shampooed her hair. My brother was getting angry and scared too of the foster dad. The foster carers slept in separate rooms. Her downstairs on the sofa. The kitchen was locked and had no access to food. I was starving, denied food and water. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't go to school. I was depressed, being ripped away from a life in Spain. I wanted to return to Spain to my friends and freedom. Okay, so banned from seeing my mum. We had a video call and we were crying. I searched Google Maps all night and eventually I found his house. I went by taxi and knocked on the door, but he wasn't in. Sorry, I think she's found her brother's house. And I want to go to the point of Spain. My mum went back to Spain on her own. I had secret contact with her anyway via an app. I went to my nan. I was severely angry, depressed. I didn't want to wake up, eat, nor speak to anyone but my friends. I hardly went to school. If I did, the teachers would remove me from class for being disruptive. Blah, blah, blah. It's all about the bad things. Then they were taking her away from her nan and they were going to put her back into care. So she looked how she could get a passport because social services had hers. So she managed to cancel the one she had. I wanted to read this testimony. I know it's a bit long and I know it's written by a young girl, but it's amazing. It's amazing. So she managed to cancel her passport and apply for a new one, and it arrived in a week. I had a passport. I looked and I could fly with Jet2 at 14 years old. I love this girl. I love this girl. You want to keep these children away from their mothers? Keep trying. I was 14 next week. I booked a flight to my mum and flew at 14 on a day. I didn't think my plan would work, but it did. I got to my mum. My nan didn't know anything. My mum messaged my nan when I arrived that night saying she's with me and not to worry. You would think that was the end, but it wasn't. Luckily, we managed to get asylum protection again. However, that was a setup and more tricks were tried. We were harassed by police here coming to our home, talking to the lifeguards in the community. We were led to believe we would have an asylum interview. When I got there, 4 big policemen surrounded us, intimidating us. My mum had already been given papers for court and she refused to go. They didn't want to know about what the UK did. They just wanted to get us to the judge there and then. I explained how corrupt the UK was and they laughed and said we were crazy and to get in the car and see the judge and tell her. My mum then told me to run. So we ran out of there, down 2 flights of stairs and out. The policeman shouting at us and chasing us. I mean, my mum recorded it all. Next day we had police again at home, so we left to go away a few days and we were scared at any bang or doorbell. So anyway, basically it goes on, but I know the case, I know the lady, she's very brave and the daughter's extremely brave. They started to harass the mother and threaten the mother, backing the nana with prison and arrests and things. And it's the same with Samantha Baldwin's mother, lovely middle class family. The mother actually went to prison for perjury, the grandmother of the 2 boys that were taken. So I'm going to end it now. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. I think I need to ask you to press the like button and share. And I will start and research the next podcast. I want to talk about what nobody wants to talk about, actually, is actually who is running. Let's really dig deep, do a deep dive into investigation, and who is running these secret family courts. Okay, have a great week, guys. Bye.